Episode 11 of Pops in a Pod, Lockdown. As you all can figure out from the name of this episode, we are officially on lockdown. Here's Peter Pop.
And this is another pop.
Yep, and as you can guess from the audio, we're talking over Skype because, yeah, we're on lockdown, away in our houses, housebound, working from home. Call it what you want.
Yeah, man, this coronavirus has really taken a toll on all of us right now. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the impact coronavirus is going to have in our lives right now, and the kind of things that are going to happen to everyone uh, in our state, at least the state of Maharashtra. But just yesterday, which was the 24th of March, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced a 21-day nationwide lockdown because of coronavirus. And that effectively puts 1.3 billion people in their respective homes.
Yeah, man. I mean, in episode 9, when we were talking about the coronavirus, we were quite optimistic. And I was listening back to it, and let's just go play a clip of something I said.
Who knows by next week what's going to happen, really? And that's the unpredictability of things.
Yeah, I cannot believe that I was so optimistic back then about it. And just look at us right now. I mean, we can't get out of our houses.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a sense of, you know, almost an impending happiness, right? That, oh, finally, this will be over one day and we'll be able to resume work and our kids will go back to school, thank God. But it's only got, I don't know, lack of a better word. I don't want to say worse, but yeah, I mean, in effect, it has become worse, but challenging. It's become extremely challenging for everyone, um, businesses or salaried people or self-employed people to kind of, stick it out at home and just be in this self-imposed prison. I guess this is what
Yeah,
house arrest feels like.
true. I mean, talking about challenging, man. Nadir, how is it for you working at home? How have you managed? I mean, considering the nature of your work, how does it feel? I think it's been about 10 days that you've been working out of home now.
Yeah, it's been exactly 10 days. And I think last week was more of a precaution that uh, my company took. And it was very kind of them to immediately take that step, to ensure that people don't gather and meet or whatever, maintain distance and practice social distancing and basically take work online. Because being a digital agency, all our work is online, right? So, in a way, it didn't affect us as much, honestly speaking, because calls, video conferencing, emails, that still continues. In fact, if I can just add, I think my work has increased. All the people that I work, it's true, it's a fact. All the people that I work with, the guys who sort of manage the operations, their work has increased. The number of hours that they put in, that's definitely gone up. You might think that, okay, we are saving up on travel time because it takes me an hour to reach office and an hour to come back home. But even if you put that within your working hour window, that also kind of doesn't compensate for the amount of work that you have to do. Simply because I think the coordination has gone up so much. Right? You're constantly coordinating with
Yeah.
people. You're trying to get, I don't know, 23 people on a call or 15 people on a call, and then you're trying to figure out which is the best platform to use to do video conferencing or to just have simple chat. So um, I'm not complaining, honestly, but yes, work continues as is. We don't know about the results because that's directly connected with the kind of decisions that the government is taking. But yeah, work is going on. It's fun being at home with your family, especially your kid and everyone. That it's great. but I'm going to change my tune very soon about that. But yeah, what about you, Peter? I mean, I live in a house of five, like 5 people. So there's me, my parents, wife, and daughter. What about you?
Yeah, things are challenging, but like you said, there's productivity and that time that you find which earlier you missed out on, I guess because of travel and stuff like that. I mean, you've mentioned earlier about me doing a podcast on heavy metal called Horns Up. My co-host Animesh and I have suddenly become both housebound. So instead of doing like one episode a week, we released 2 episodes the last couple of weeks, and it's been fun because now there are a lot of more musicians to talk about, because it's not just us who are housebound, it's also the musicians who aren't touring and stuff. So yeah, it's been quite interesting. And one thing I always keep laughing about with my wife is that how suddenly now everyone on social media is an expert on work from home and is doling out tips and stuff. But I'm sure you'll agree with me. All these people who are doling out tips don't have a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 10-year-old in the house constantly vying for their attention.
No, absolutely. I think what we are going through right now is completely unprecedented, and I think none of us have seen this in our lifetimes. And I don't mean coronavirus. I mean being locked up in the house with your kid.
Yeah, and how do you, like, to start off with, how do you explain a phenomena like this to your kid, where my son the other day was like, "Daddy, let's go to the park," and I had to explain to him, "No, the park is closed." And then he said, "What about here?" And can we go out? And I was like, "No, you cannot go out." But you can't explain. I mean, we went through this in episode 9. How do you explain to your child the seriousness of an illness like this? And also how if they contract it, so you're constantly paranoid about something like that.
I'm constantly worried about my daughter and her immunity, because ever since she started playgroup, what we noticed was that her propensity to fall sick increased so much that I don't think we've seen like a good 2 months or even maybe a month uh, on the whole where she's been fine, where like nothing's gone wrong with her. There's always been every month where either she's had a runny nose or she's had horrible dry cough, or there's some allergy where she's scratching and itching her legs and her hands. So there's constantly something wrong. And then on top of that, you have this worldwide pandemic scare, where you're constantly reading that people with low immunity are at a major risk, and the first thing that you're thinking of is your child, right? Because I know
Yeah.
that my daughter has low immunity right now, and it's a damn good thing that the playgroup took that call and said that, what, we're shutting down everything. And obviously even the state kind of got involved in that and said all schools and colleges were shut. So in a way it was a great blessing in disguise. And I honestly, I whispered a small prayer saying that, oh, thank God, this is good. But that introduces like different other challenges when you are with a child at home. But before we get there, Peter, your son turned 3 last week, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know how to start over that, because we had this was his first birthday that he could like actually remember or acknowledge in a way. So we were quite kicked about it. We kept building it up for him, telling him, who's turning 3. He was quite excited about it and stuff like that. And then, as the days came closer, I had this gut instinct that we may not be able to celebrate it with him in the way we had planned initially. But I was kind of hopeful. But as the days got closer, it was clear that they are going to shut his play school and daycare, so he won't be able to celebrate with his friends. Yeah, and finally the day came. He was quite excited about it. We were getting calls from family all over the world and things like that. So we ended up celebrating it in a very small way. I got him a cake and stuff like that. But the silver line in all of this is when he's older, this is a great story to tell him how, like, literally the world was shut down around his birthday, and he was kind of completely oblivious to it. And that's the cool thing about them being this age, right? They're not aware of all the serious issues or the anxiety that we as parents face for their health.
No,
So
absolutely. And I'm really, I want to grab onto that word that you said, shut down. Because my daughter thinks that she's on this elaborate holiday, from her play group, and she's just kind of enjoying. And obviously, like a 3.5-year old, what are you expecting them to do? Like, what, run stock market numbers or something? No, obviously not. But I ensure that at any given point in time, I make sure that I either correct her or remind her that you're not on holiday. Like, the schools have been shut down, your playgroup has been shut down. It's cancelled. Like, I'm trying very hard to instill the difference between a holiday and a shutdown slash cancellation, because they're two completely different things. This is not how a child should be looking forward to a holiday, right? Because this is never going to happen again in hopefully in our lifetime, where all the
true.
family members are cooped up in the house, and that's not the definition of a holiday, right? You're supposed to be outdoor, you're supposed to be going out and having fun, or traveling or something. This is not the idea of a holiday for a child.
Yeah, man, Nadir, I completely agree. I mean, for children, holidays are supposed to be a fun thing, something to look forward to. And if this is what they're going to associate with a holiday, oh boy. But, having said that, we talked about how difficult it is to manage your kid while you're trying to work. Um, One funny or cool thing that, my wife and I have come up with to keep our child engaged is so my wife saw this thing online where you kind of, so my son loves playing with cars. So she came up
Okay.
with a racetrack made out of tape, which we've got all over our floors in one room, and he and I kind of play racing. So which car will win moving around that racetrack? And call it bias or whatever, he always says, "Mama car winner."
No, that's damn cool, man. I think all the parents are becoming so ingenious, in the ways of taking care of their child at home. But when you said that holidays are supposed to be fun, I completely agree, because for us also, this is not a holiday. I keep on stressing this to everyone who's listening to us, that either for the child or for the parent, this is not a holiday, because as a parent, you are at home still working. Like, you and your wife are still at home working, trying to make ends meet. Me and my wife are at home, working. And the best part about these new jobs are that it's digital. You can do everything online. So yeah, so we still have a timetable to work with. Like, it's still a normal day. Um, we wake up, breakfast, log in, start working. But then you have the child, just staring at you and looking. Okay, are you going to play with me? Are you going to do something fun with me? And I think that's where it hits you. On day one, it's like, oh, so sweet, so cute. Okay, you know what? Let me just postpone that call and I'll play with my child. But on the eighth day, it's not as fun. It becomes a serious problem there. How do you keep that child engaged? And in the last 2 weeks, all I have been reading online is these many articles talking about how to deal with your child when you're working from home, or how to deal with your child when you're stuck at home, and what are the kind of activities you can do. But it's tough, because a child just needs new things every time. It's like a YouTube, suggested videos. When you watch something, you want something new every time you kind of see those loaded videos, right? That's exactly, I think, how a child thinks. They will never be satisfied with something so much in routine. So it becomes all the more challenging for you to figure out that, okay, you know what, I've done X with my child, now I need to move on to Y, or I need to figure out plan Z or plan B or plan D, and whatever kind of fits in your little world, so that you are at peace to do your work and make your call, and your child is decently engaged, so that she's not disturbing anyone else in the house who's working. And yeah, it's crazy. It's so difficult for us to kind of trying to put work at home and engage with kid, because they're two parallel sets of tasks that you need to do. It is so difficult to do it together.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at this point, I think all those who are very militant on screen time and stuff like that would have to drop it, I would think, because it's a little hard to keep your child engaged in the four walls, right?
No, absolutely, man. I mean, uh, I would love to understand their thinking behind not giving the screen to your child, because everyone is facing this situation for the first time in their lives, and I don't think you can be so regimented about, oh no, my child will have zero screen time. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There are so many firsts, that have happened thanks to this whole coronavirus thing, where we are all agitated, including my mom and dad, who usually are very calm with my daughter, but even they feel the strain, of having a 3.5-year-old running around trying to engage herself with various members of the family. So yes, what do you do if I need to catch a 1 hour break trying to eat, or take a small nap, or just unwind? I'll definitely give her the screen and say, okay, you know what, here, do this, just leave me alone for half an hour, and I'll take the phone or the computer or the iPad or whatever it is, and we'll do this again a couple of hours later. You have to. I mean, even I don't like to expose the screen too much to my daughter, but I've let in, and my wife has also, to a certain extent, just let go. It's like, it's all right as long as we get our work done, and as long as she's happy, whatever, meeting her characters, these fictional characters on the screen. I guess then both of us are happy and we get our work done. So yeah, you've got to let certain things go.
Yeah, Nadir, but I must add, screen time can not always be a negative thing. One cool thing I came across was Amar Chitrakatha, which I think most Indian kids grew up with. They've got all their comics online for free now, including Tinkle. So not only you can expose your child to that, and they'll also be learning in a fun and interactive way.
No, absolutely. And apart from your these comic books that we grew up on, and I would love to pass on, that to my daughter as well, because she loves stories. So she can see the visuals, and I can sort of narrate the story to her. But apart from that, we also have these education labs that are doing, which I'm sure will do extremely well in this phase. I recently downloaded an education lab for my daughter. It was so well done. They have a separate app just for kids, and it's beautiful. It's colorful. They have these animal mnemonics and characters talking to the child. They're giving instructions in simple English to the child about letters and about
Oh,
numbers and about colors. So it's just not entertainment, but they're also learning, and I kind of appreciate that. Now it doesn't matter what the medium is, right? Whether it's pen or paper, whether it's a digital screen. As long as the child's learning, I'm happy because the child's engaged. You can sit back and do your work, and I guess everyone's happy.
yeah. Nadir, we talked quite a bit about how the impact is on us and our kids. But I want to add this fact. Have you noticed how fresh the air is lately? I mean, no cars on the road. You see blue skies. And for me, the most surprising thing last weekend was you could actually hear birds all around, which I don't remember the last time I heard, man.
I completely agree, Peter. In fact, I was going to bring this up at some point, but I'm glad you brought it up. There are certain positives that you definitely can look forward to. Yeah, the atmosphere has changed. There is no sound. There's no traffic sound, and Mumbai being a very busy city, you can never escape that cacophony and just the loud, sharp alarming sound. And it's good for a change, to have that the
I
silence in
agree.
the middle of the day.
Yeah, true. We could all use a bit of that. But yeah, I mean, to kind of wrap up, it's going to be tough, I admit, for the next 20 odd days for us here in India, at least with this lockdown. Uh, how you guys managing in, all our listeners in the different countries or even in India itself? Because we'd like to know, especially the parents, even the non-parents who are listening, how are you managing with your work routine? But especially the parents, we want to know all the interesting and funny stuff you've been doing with your kids and the experience you've had so far having your kids at home 24/7.
Yeah, please do write to us, or you can drop a comment on popsinapod um, on Instagram, and definitely write to us on popsinapod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your stories, and if you have something interesting to share, we'd probably call you as a guest on our show as well, and we can have a cool chat. So that's it from us for this week. Stay safe. Please do not take your children out during this period. Just leave them at home. Try and do as much engaging activities as possible with them. Don't venture out yourself except for the essentials, and stay safe.
Yeah, and don't forget, wash your hands.
We will see you next week, and hopefully things would have changed for the better. But in the meantime, thank you for listening to us, and see you next week. This is Nadir.
And Peter Pop signing off.